Have you ever wondered what goes on in a university interview? Want to know the secrets to acing them? Keep watching to learn more. Hi and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Wesley and I'm a recent secondary school graduate and Cambridge Medic offer holder. I'm sure that most of you, like myself, have gone through quite a few interviews, but maybe not as many as important as the one for your desired uni course. In today's video, I'll be sharing some of the basics of uni interviews and my personal tips to help you succeed. So obviously, you would first try to figure out if you actually need an interview. Otherwise, you would be just preparing and fretting over nothing, right? So for professional subjects like medicine, dentistry, and vet, these usually require interviews, as well as some of creative degrees, like music and art. They might also differ by uni. For example, Oxbridge basically requires an interview for every single subject. But when in doubt, always read the information on their websites. Like most things, I tend to prepare for interviews with the end result in mind. So try your best to find out what the interview will be like before you start your preparation. Will you be facing a general interview asking about your general interests, your personal circumstances? Or will it be an academic interview that's more of a Q&A? Or will it be a dialogue? How in-depth are these academic questions? Or is it a mix of both? Will you be facing something like an MMI for medicine, or is it just a traditional panel interview? You can always expect and prepare for a standard panel interview. Usually these will come with a mix of general and academic questions, so they might ask about things that you mentioned in your personal statement. So you always have to be familiar with that. And as well as the usual questions like why this subject, why this school, tell us about yourself, why should we pick you? So you can always prepare beforehand for these questions, but just don't over-prepare and make it seem like you're reading off a script. However, these are all reasonable questions to be asking. But where do you find the answers? How thorough your preparation can be really depends on the level of information you get. So the more you know, the further you can go. Hence, don't limit your research to just the official website. Try asking on online forums, your teachers, your seniors, current students in the subject, and maybe even email the admission officers or ask them during open days. Most people would be more than happy to answer like general questions about the interviews, things like the mode, the structure and such, so it's up to you to reach out. In a way, the Oxbridge interviews are probably the most predictable and unified across the different unis, since no matter what subject or college you're applying to, you're going to need an interview, and it's almost always two subject-focused academic interviews lasting between 20 to 30 minutes each and with a panel of 2 interviewers. So what does that mean? I believe the interviews are still currently done online, and if you do get an interview offer, your college will send you an interview link via their desired platform, so maybe something like Zoom or Google Meet. You log in on your time slot, alone in whatever room you're in, dressed up nicely, sit there for a good 15 minutes, checking that the lighting and your tech is alright. And then once you get in, you'll see 2 interviews. So they might be professors, fellows, your director of studies, the admission tutor, etc. They'll sort of introduce themselves and the interview immediately begins. So they'll start asking questions that are really related to the subject that you apply for. The thing that's different to other unis is that they're trying to mimic a supervision scenario. So you're actually supposed to be telling them your thought process and reasoning for your answers and trying to maintain a conversation instead of just them asking a question and you giving them a factual answer. And you actually most likely won't be able to, since they're asking questions that aren't usually within your A-level syllabus and they don't expect you to know the answer at all. They're actually trying to have you to try your best to deduce the answer based on things that you already know, and through this way they can learn the way you think and whether or not you'll be benefiting and thriving from this learning environment. In other cases, they might actually ask you to work through some calculations or your thoughts on some humanities issues depending on what subject you're applying for. Just don't be intimidated and freeze when you don't know the answer. Tell them what's on your mind and the interviewers will guide you through them. So there are some things that I've learned and experimented with from attending various interviews for like awards, scholarships, and of course my Cambridge interview. And I've summed up 5 of the most important things that I'd like to share here. So firstly, is to really enjoy the process. So you might be thinking like, how do I enjoy an interview? It's already difficult enough to try to stay calm and not embarrass myself. Well, if you enjoy the interview, then you naturally be confident and relaxed and don't have to worry about staying calm. Think of it this way. How often do you get a full 30 minutes of someone's attention? Someone who genuinely wants to get to know you and your ability within the field, let alone that person being a leading professor of some sort. So then you're supposed to be enjoying that, right? You've already done so much to get that interview offer. So you should be happy to talk about a subject you love, and you should be happy to talk about yourself. I sometimes also think of it as a social opportunity, like you're really getting to meet someone new here. And I've had times when I actually made connections through interviews. If it's an academic interview, then you can treat it as a learning opportunity, exchanging thoughts and ideas with academics. When I interviewed for Cambridge, I thought, you know what? This might be the only chance to talk about medicine with Cambridge professors if I fail, so I'll make the most of it. And I did genuinely enjoy the process, and I actually learned a lot from that interview. The second tip is to limit your concerns. Accidents are bound to happen. There are going to be bumps along the way. But you don't want to be actively creating obstacles for yourself. You don't want to be 5 minutes before your interview and find out that your laptop's out of battery. You don't want to be getting ready and realize that your shirt isn't ironed. And you most definitely don't want to be in the middle of the interview and your alarm on your phone goes off. It's small things like these that might actually throw you off. So double check that your computer is charged the day before, iron everything the day before, and double check your alarms before you go in. Limit the number of possible accidents and prepare for anything possible. Now this next one is related to your preparation, and it's something that people often miss out, but it's also one of the greatest mistakes that you can make. Please try to know your audience beforehand. So imagine you're having a great interview, the vibe is great, the flow is going great, and then you make one wrong comment that's going against all the values of the organization, and your interview is botched. So whenever possible, don't just understand the judging criteria or the position that you're interviewing, but also the background, the general values, the goals, the aim of the organization, or even the interviewers, so that you can avoid any landmines and maybe possibly strengthen your own image as well. It's probably common sense to maintain good eye contact, but you're not supposed to just sit there and stare at the interviewer like. There's a lot of information you can gather by looking at someone. Practice taking in micro expressions, eyebrow twitches, gestures and all that. Everything is extra information to know if they're agreeing with what you're saying, if they're getting annoyed, if they're getting bored, if you're going completely off track, so that you can use this and make adjustments to your speech. If they're getting annoyed or bored, maybe you're already rambling about it, and so you should just stop talking. Or maybe they're really furrowing their brows and so you're completely going off track. Then trying to go in a different direction or ask for help. Or maybe they're looking intrigued or they're smiling and nodding, then you're going in the right direction. Remember that approximately 70% of communication is non-verbal. So don't just look at your notes or your fingers or whatnot. Really look at your interview. So we just covered receiving non-verbal cues, and this one's about being conscious of your own. I'm not sure how many people have this problem, but sometimes your face just unconsciously moves into place. Like I might just be working on something or talking to someone and I find my brows just furrowing together and my facial muscles getting tense. And it's things like that that tell the interviewer that you're uncomfortable, even though you might not be feeling so. So once I realized that, I tried to actively smile more and relax my facial muscles. I know it's kinda weird, but once you get used to it, it really changes the vibe you give people and hence success rate in interviews. So practice with your friends and peers until you can learn to control your expressions and just turn on that positivity on demand. So that's the end of my introduction to Oxbridge and UCAS interviews in general, as well as my top tips. I really hope they help and that you can apply them to help you succeed on your own. If you have any thoughts, ideas, or questions, then pop in the comments down below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!